If you've been feeling like something is off but can't quite put your finger on it, or if you're tired of feeling tired all the time, what I'm about to share might just be the missing piece you've been looking for. Today I'm going to share 5 signs that you're living in survival mode, and more importantly, how you can begin to find your calm again. Because when you're living in survival mode, you're not actually living. You're just surviving. And you deserve so much more than that. First, let's talk about what survival mode actually is from a psychological perspective. Your nervous system has basically 2 main states: safety and protection. And when we're in our protection state, what we call survival mode, our body and mind are constantly scanning for threats, even when there aren't any real dangers present. Now, this made perfect sense when our ancestors needed to watch out for actual predators. But in our modern world, our nervous system can't tell the difference between a charging tiger and a demanding boss, between a physical threat and an overwhelming to-do list. What happens is that your sympathetic nervous system, that's your fight or flight response, gets stuck in the on position. And when that happens, everything becomes about just getting through, just surviving until the next moment, the next day, the next crisis. The tricky part is that survival mode can feel normal, especially if you've been living in it for a long time. It becomes your baseline. But I want you to know that feeling constantly on edge, constantly overwhelmed, like you're behind on everything, that's not normal, and it's definitely not sustainable. The first sign you're living in survival mode is that your nervous system feels like it's always on. This might show up as having trouble falling asleep because your mind just won't stop racing, or waking up already feeling anxious about the day ahead. You might notice this as difficulty concentrating, feeling jumpy or easily startled, having tense shoulders or a clenched jaw without realizing, or feeling like you need to be constantly busy or productive. From a psychological standpoint, this happens because your sympathetic nervous system is stuck in overdrive. Your body is constantly producing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, even when you're trying to rest. It's like having a car alarm that won't turn off. If this sounds familiar, please know that this isn't a character flaw or something you're doing wrong. This is your nervous system trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. The good news is that you can learn to work with your nervous system instead of against it. The second sign is that you feel guilty about rest. And I mean really guilty, like you're being lazy or selfish if you're not constantly doing something productive. Now, here's what psychology research tells us. Rest isn't just a nice thing to do. It's neurologically necessary. Your brain needs downtime to process information, consolidate memories, and reset your stress response system. When you feel guilty about rest, you're actually fighting against your body's natural healing mechanisms. This guilt often comes from childhood messages about productivity and worth, or from a culture that glorifies being busy. You might find yourself saying things like, "I don't have time to rest," or "I'll rest when everything is done." But in survival mode, everything is never done because your nervous system keeps creating new urgencies. I want to give you permission right now. You deserve to rest, not because you've earned it through productivity, but because you're a human being with a nervous system that needs care. Rest is not selfish. It's definitely necessary for you to show up as your best self for the people you love every day. The third sign you're living in survival mode is that everything feels urgent, even things that aren't actually time sensitive. Your nervous system has lost the ability to distinguish between what truly needs immediate attention and what can wait. What's happening here is that your stress response system is hypervigilant. In psychology, we call this having a dysregulated nervous system. When you're in survival mode, your brain's threat detection system becomes oversensitive, treating minor stressors as major crises. You might notice this feeling as panicked when you're running 5 minutes late, or overreacting to small mistakes feeling like you can't prioritize because everything seems equally important. Or having a physical stress response to things like full emails or messy spaces. The truth is, very few things in life are actually urgent. Most of what feels urgent is your nervous system's interpretation, not reality. So learning to pause and ask, is this actually urgent or does it just feel urgent, can be the beginning of finding your way back to calm. This isn't about becoming apathetic or not caring. It's about recalibrating your stress response so that you can respond thoughtfully rather than reactively to life's demands. The fourth sign is one that breaks my heart every time I see it. You've lost touch with joy. When you're in survival mode, your capacity for pleasure, curiosity, and spontaneous happiness gets suppressed because your nervous system is focused entirely on protection. From a neurological standpoint, chronic stress actually shrinks the parts of our brains responsible for experiencing pleasure and making new memories. It's not that you're broken or that joy isn't available to you. It's that your nervous system has prioritized survival over thriving for so long that those neural pathways have become less accessible. You might notice this as feeling numb or disconnected from activities you used to enjoy, having trouble being present for good moments because you're always thinking about what needs to happen next, or feeling like you're just going through the motions of life rather than actually experiencing it. But here's what I want you to know. Joy isn't gone forever. It's just temporarily inaccessible while your system is focused on survival. As you learn to regulate your nervous system and move from survival mode back to safety, your capacity for joy, wonder, and presence naturally returns. Part of finding your way back to joy is giving yourself permission to notice small moments of beauty or pleasure, even in the midst of stress. It might be the taste of your morning coffee, or the feeling of sunlight on your face, or the moment of genuine connection with someone you love. The fifth and final sign, you're operating on autopilot. You go through your days without really being present, almost like you're watching your life happen rather than actively living in it. This is what psychologists call a protective mechanism, where your mind disconnects from the present moment as a way of coping with overwhelm. It's not conscious, it's your nervous system's way of managing more input than it can process. You might notice this as frequently forgetting what you were just doing, having conversations that you don't fully remember, eating meals without tasting them, or feeling like time passes without you really experiencing it. You might also find yourself constantly multitasking because being fully present to one thing feels overwhelming. If this resonates with you, please know that autopilot isn't laziness or a lack of care. It's a coping mechanism. Your nervous system is trying to protect you from overwhelm by reducing your conscious awareness of what's happening. The beautiful thing about recognizing this pattern is that awareness is the first step towards presence. As you learn to create safety in your nervous system, your natural capacity for presence and awareness begins to return. Now that we've identified these signs, let's talk about how to actually find calm and start moving from survival mode back to a state of safety and presence. The key is understanding that you can't think your way out of survival mode. You have to work with your nervous system directly. Here are 3 research-backed practices that can help you begin this shift. First, conscious breathing. When you're in survival mode, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. By intentionally slowing down and deepening your breath, you send a direct signal to your nervous system that you're safe. Try breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, and exhaling for 6. The longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest response. Let's practice that now. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You did wonderful. Second, grounding practices. When your nervous system is stuck in protection mode, connecting with your physical body and immediate environment can help bring you back to the present moment. This might be feeling your feet on the ground, noticing 5 things that you can see around you, or placing your hand on your heart and feeling your heartbeat. Third, gentle boundaries around your energy. This means to say no to requests that deplete you, creating small pockets of rest throughout your day, and protecting your sleep and quiet time as non-negotiable self-care practices. I want to share something personal with you about how and why this topic is so close to my heart, because it connects directly to how you can start implementing these changes in your own life. It wasn't until I transitioned to entrepreneurship that I realized that I truly had a choice. I could continue living in survival mode, constantly overwhelmed and disconnected from my perceived joy, that I could learn to work with my nervous system to create the calm and presence I desperately craved. So here's what I learned. You don't have to stay in survival mode forever. Your nervous system can learn to feel safe again. You can find your way back to calm, to joy, to presence, one mindful moment at a time. So as we wrap up today, I want to remind you of something very important. Recognizing that you're in survival mode is information that can set you free. Your nervous system has been working so hard to protect you, and it deserves compassion, not criticism. And every moment you spend acknowledging where you are and gently guiding yourself back to safety is an act of profound self-love. Here's what I love for you to try this week. Pick just one of the techniques I shared, the breathing practice, grounding practice, or setting a gentle boundary. Start small. Your nervous system responds better to gentle, consistent care rather than dramatic changes. If you're ready to create a more structured approach to moving from survival mode to serenity, I have resources that can support you on this journey. By the way, I'm Gwen Jones. I provide content that moves you from burnout to balance and supports your journey to reclaiming peace, power, and presence in your life. I've created a daily self-care checklist with affirmations that can help you begin implementing these nervous system regulation techniques into your daily routine. You can find the link to download it for free in the description below. My Self-Care Affirmations book for women provides self-care reminders that can assist with nervous system care. And our rose and frankincense body oil can become part of a grounding evening routine that signals safety to your system. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 signs resonated with you today? Your sharing might be exactly what another woman needs to hear. If this conversation supported you in any way today, please give it a thumbs up and share it with any woman who might need this reminder that she's not broken, she's not failing, she's just living in a nervous system state that can be gently shifted with the right tools and right understanding. Subscribe to Flow and Serenity Wellness for more psychology-backed content that helps you move from burnout to balance and reclaim your peace, power, and presence. Remember, you deserve to feel safe in your own nervous system, and you have everything within you to make it happen. Thank you for being here. Until next time, keep flowing in serenity.